Yeah, it works. Aren't you so glad? Don't you love that intro? I
do.
love that intro. Yep, let's show them all my baby bump.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Patrick.
I'm
I'm
Megan.
with the Breakaway Homesteaders. How are you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. I'm tired.
Yeah,
It's been a long week, folks. And it's
it's
only going
only
to get
Tuesday.
longer. Yeah, getting ready for the weekend, holiday weekend, doing stuff, and getting everything ready for that. Well, yeah. So what's going on this week? We got Sybil in the house. Got Doc Ferris.
That's it.
Who else we got? Sub.
Oh, sub.
And they are all anxious to see what we're going to talk about tonight. But first, let's talk about what happened.
So this past weekend, I went down to see my grandparents.
Yep.
So that's always a fun time. Took Huxley to the beach.
Yep. Which we do. I think we're going to make it a tradition.
Yeah.
We take him to the beach because it's his birthday weekend.
Yeah, his birthday is on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
And so we decided to take him.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loves the beach. How about this? He doesn't like the beach. He loves the ocean.
Yeah, just being in the water. He has no desire to play in the sand, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But he has to be in the water.
Yeah.
So
they had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
They had a blast. I found a sand dollar.
He did.
Yeah. Spent a nice weekend with your grandparents.
Yeah, we did.
Really
it's always good to see them.
Always good to see them. Both of Megan's grandparents are still living and still kicking it.
Yeah.
And
they're
doing well.
83 and 85.
And they are the people we want to be
when we grow up.
Most definitely.
So, got some stuff ready for the trailer this week.
Yep.
Getting ready to take it out
on its maiden voyage.
Yep. So we're excited about that.
Yep. More to test everything out, but also have that spare room, so we can be comfortable in our own right.
Yep.
So plus we can test out the truck and towing capacity and all that stuff, and get to learn how to ride with it.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I've never pulled something this big before, so
I think you'll find it not hard at all.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
Probably easier than pulling a large trailer.
Well, yeah, just the way it fits with the center of gravity.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's been pretty much it. There hasn't really been a whole lot going on. Huxley started school yesterday, so first day of kindergarten in the books.
Was great seeing him off on the bus.
He saw the bus. I don't think he necessarily understood why we were standing at the end of the driveway.
He thought it was like when he saw Santa Claus come.
Yes, on the fire truck.
Yes.
His face just lit up, and he was so excited. He didn't even want to hug us goodbye. He just had to get on the bus. Yeah. I cried. Yeah. Pat said he wasn't crying, but his eyes were wet.
It could have been an axe murder on the bus, and he got murdered.
Yeah, he wouldn't have cared. And even this morning, we saw the flashing lights as we were nearing the end of the driveway, and he just got all excited and just ran to the end of the driveway to get on the bus.
Got on the bus. Did he
say
goodbye?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
So he's doing well. Had 2 good days at school.
Yeah.
They took him to meet his general education, his gen ed teacher today. So he's
redhead, right?
No.
The pretty redhead.
No, she went with him, but no, it was the other lady from the classroom on the other side.
Got it.
And so that was good. You know, they're introducing him into what is going to become his routine. So, and he has passed
both
out.
Nice. Yeah, both nice.
Like,
boom.
By 8:10, not a peep.
Not a peep.
And so they're wearing his ass out, which is always good.
Yeah.
But he is talking.
Yes.
Like, can't understand half of it, but he is just, I get him in the truck. Because he rides the bus in the morning, I pick him up in the afternoon, take him to where he goes for after school, and he's just chattering away. No clue what he's saying, but he is doing really well.
So happy birthday, Huxley. He'll be 5 years old.
5. Just killing me. I don't know when I got a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been pretty much it.
Yeah.
Work and
tired. And it's tiring here because we send him off on the bus now. So instead of getting up at 6:15 in the morning, I get
You
up
know,
at
at
5:30.
5:30 ish.
I get up at 5:30.
I do not. I get up a little after 6,
Thank you very much.
and then help walk him to the bus. So
This is part of doing it together. It's part of being a family unit.
yeah,
You know, I take care of Huxley in the morning. I make sure he's fed, make sure he's good to go. That's my job as a parent. And then in the afternoon, you pick him up.
I pick him up from school, take him to his after school, and then pick him up after work, bring him home.
And we do our part.
Yeah.
To make sure it all works, and then vice versa. You had an appointment today. You had a chiropractor's appointment, so I picked up the kid. It wasn't hard.
But when you have a class start, I have to get him ready in the morning.
Exactly.
So, which will be harder on me than it will be on Pat to pick him up on the days I need him to.
Yes. But we'll be picking him up early because of the days off, or getting off earlier. If that's the case, I don't know. So that's part of working together that we do well, I think.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. So, yeah.
Man.
So we were out again with your grandparents, and we enjoy visiting your grandparents because they always have great advice
and nice stories. They're supportive of us and our choices.
They follow us
Yeah.
more than we follow them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with how they were brought up. You know, they were 83 and 85, so they have seen a lot in their lifetimes.
Can I show you the capture of today's video? Image slideshow.
Take their advice.
So I chose this picture because you think of elderly people as frail people that stay at home and play cribbage and
yes, because that's what I think.
Stay to themselves and they don't do a whole lot. They don't function well or whatnot. But this picture shows you exactly this is their whole lifestyle. Not their lifestyle, but they were our age at one point. They've made all the mistakes. They've learned from their mistakes, and they actually made it to an old age, whereas we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So when we heed advice from Megan's grandparents, I can't necessarily say from my grandparents because all of mine had passed, and I did not grow up with them. But having your grandparents for the past 9 years has been eye-opening to me because I didn't grow up with grandparents. And if this was what it's like, I'm glad to have known the grandparents thus far and beyond. So
I've always admired them and respected them.
I love every time we go there, we listen to story after story of how things work.
Yeah. They grew up in Kansas City, both of them, and my grandfather joined the military out of college. They got married, and their honeymoon was actually driving to his first duty station out in California. And so it's interesting on that side of it to hear like the old school. No, Jack, you're not getting on the table. Their old school military stories. You know, Pat being Navy, my dad being Navy. You know, it's 3 generations of how things have changed, and
they have changed.
Just how their lives got started. You know, my grandfather went to school for something else that his mother wanted him to do, and it wasn't him, and so he changed and actually became an architect. And so he followed what he wanted to do, not the plan that was laid out before him, you know, which wasn't necessarily easy. I mean, it's not easy now, but it certainly wasn't easy then. He was an only child, so there was a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he said no. And, you know, so even stuff like that, he took risks and took a chance and made a life from it. You know, my grandmother...
Megan's grandparents grew up during the Great Depression.
The kind of the tail end of it, yeah. You know,
they grew up during World War II.
Yeah. And my grandmother was a home ec teacher. And then she also worked as like an administrative for a hospital. You know, so she was a working woman, you know, when many were not of her generation. So it's interesting to hear her stories and how she viewed things, and she's a very strong woman, and I admire her as well a lot for the choices that she's made. And they both had retirement, and they've traveled.
A lot.
They've taken 17 or 19 trips,
17,
17
17.
trips, as they put it, across the
Wow.
pond, over to Europe, to do different things, riverboat cruises. They've done the Panama Canal, stuff that I can only dream of doing at this point. And they, even with health issues and stuff, my grandmother got shingles on one of their trips and still enjoyed Istanbul. Like, who the hell does that?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's just been amazing to be able to have them as a child for me, and then to grow up with them. But this time, one of the things that we talked about, I remember my great grandparents a little bit. They were
Come on.
my grandmother's parents, and
That's so annoying.
he I remember them a little bit from when I was a kid. At that point, they lived down the road. They had a house literally like a block and a half from my grandparents in Savannah. And so I remember, having to walk down to their house and stuff, and having holiday stuff with them.
Sybil said, don't,
Um,
sorry to interrupt. Sybil said, don't just listen to them, record their stories.
well, that's actually part of what we're going to be talking about tonight, and we have actually recorded some stuff from my grandmother. Pat found a list of like 100 questions to ask your grandparents, and has actually started recording some of the stories and
All the
stuff.
questions were already answered. There was some other stuff that needed to be done that haven't been done yet, but maybe we'll continue on with that.
Yeah, because that's one of the things. Like, it's not just for us, but it's for Huxley. Like with his learning delays and stuff. Like, he knows them, and he gets excited to see them. And he called my granddad. It's Grams and Granddad. It's what I've always called them, and he kept calling him Grandpa, which we have no clue why, because we don't call him that.
Yeah.
So for him to come out with that and recognize, like that
He's related.
he's
to him.
related. This is somebody that loves him, and so he started calling him Grandpa, and I'm okay with that. He called him something, he recognized him, but I want him to be able to hear their stories and their memories from them,
Right.
and
For sure.
so we started that several years ago. You did,
Years ago,
yeah. And so, but that's part of kind of what we're talking about tonight, because one of the things that we talked about was what it was like kind of coming out of the Great Depression. And my great grandfather, my grandmother's dad, was lucky enough that he did have a job. He worked for Sears, or Montgomery Ward's. No, he was at Sears when that happened. I thought she said.
He worked at Montgomery Ward's and Sears.
And but this was back in the day when you got paid in cash in an envelope, and during the Great Depression, a lot of people didn't have anything.
Right.
And he walked out, and were desperate, for even the basics. And he walked out during the wintertime after getting his paycheck, and he was actually held at gunpoint and taken out into a field and stripped of everything except his underwear and his undershirt, and then was left to walk home. And for some reason, that story just resonated with me, like the desperation of the people that robbed him, how he must have been feeling, how it affected that, and she talked about how it affected his mindset, like for the next several years, almost to a decade. He refused to buy a house because he didn't want to end up saddling his wife with a mortgage, because what if something happened to him, she would not be able to afford it, and then what happens then.
Right.
And how it affected the way he thought about things and the actions that he took. And one of the things now is that we are sort of in a depression. There are people doing things for the wrong reasons, but then there's also people that are doing things out of desperation. And how that if things do get worse, we could find ourselves in a very similar situation.
They
where
call
the
it
people
a recession today, when it's really it's a depression.
Where people that have stuff, whether it's money or food or whatever, and then you're going to have the have-nots that do not. And it just, so even a story from 80 years ago still applied to what I could see our potential future being. And it's scary and it kind of resonated with me, but it also made me think about what can we learn from the previous generations, and not just my parents' generation, but the ones before that, that had, I mean, honestly, had been through some shit
Yeah.
and still persevered, still came in on top of it, still raised families, and traveled. Even back then they traveled. I mean, yeah, they drove, they didn't fly, but they've been to all the state parks in the United States, like just everything. And it's stuff that, once again, we can only dream about doing. We'd love to take a road trip for a couple weeks and be able to go out west and see some stuff and then come back home. But we don't know when that's actually going to be able to happen. But
You know what I'd like to do?
my grandparents have done it. What?
Yeah. 2022 is the last year they're going to actually do the quarters of the national parks. I would love just to put all those quarters inside of the bag, shake it up, pull it out, and we're going to Hot Springs, Alabama. We're going to the Grand Canyon. We're going to the Badlands. We're going to Yellowstone, and take a road trip to those locations.
That'd be kind of cool.
Wouldn't it though?
But so it just got me thinking about what we can learn from the older generations and just how simple it is, but people don't think about it, I feel like, or don't take the time. And that's one thing that, I wish they would. It doesn't have to be your grandparents, but somebody from a generation that's beyond yours.
Go to an old folks home.
I mean, I don't know, can you?
Yes.
Just walk in?
You just walk in, volunteer your time, and help out.
Yeah.
And while you're helping out, you're going to make new friends. I guarantee it.
But, it's one of the things, it's something that can be so simple as just talking to someone, and asking them about their experiences. And, I mean, they're most of the time, the questions that we've asked my grandparents have always been answered.
And answered.
Like, even if it wasn't necessarily like a
topic that they really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
They still spoke about it.
Yeah. And, so stuff like that, just talk to them. As, Sybil mentioned, and, we've done, is write it down or record it, help keep those memories, and the lessons that are learned from them. And that way you can pass them down to your future generations, your grandkids or great grandkids. And, and unfortunately, like, you need to do it now. You can't put it off, because old age brings some shitty things with it,
Right.
Dementia, or just passing away. My grandmother was talking to me about some people from their church that the wife, they were 83 and 84, I think, and the wife passed away on Friday and the husband passed away on Sunday. And, as hard as it was for the family, at least they essentially went together, and everybody joked that the wife was like, nope, it's time to go. Chop, chop, let's do this. And, came back and got her husband, and they went off together.
Yeah.
And so you don't always have the time that you think you do. And right. I know life gets in the way. It gets in the way with us too.
Right.
And I always feel guilty that we haven't seen them as much as I would like to.
Right. But I want to feel that we are doing what we can at the same time for our future generations. We do this show every Tuesday. If at any point our great grandchildren one day go, I wonder what Papa or Mammy were like back in the...
I will never be referred to as Mammy.
Back in the early 2000s. I wonder what it was like back then. 200 years from now. They're going to want to... We're going to think we were freaking...
Old school.
Like, we're the last generation that knows what it's like to have lived without internet and with internet, before and after. Our grandparents, are the generation to know what it was like to live with wealth or live with poverty.
Yeah.
And how to
struggle out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And rise up out of it in the years it takes to do that, and how they got from here, point A to point B, and they survived. They survived in times that not necessarily everybody had the best odds of survival.
Yeah.
But they
think
did.
of illnesses and
Exactly.
the depression and everything. And then,
Diseases and
yeah,
stuff that we have cures for today they didn't have back then.
yeah,
Going through the polio crisis, going through all kinds of crazy shit.
yeah. And then, even if they're not still living, take a look at your genealogy. Try to trace your family tree as best you can. There's so many resources out there that you don't even have to go to the library of, the area they were born in to pull out old records from the basement, like,
Mm-hmm.
and see where you came from. Try to find out, what people have overcome in your past. I'm lucky in the fact that my mom is very much into genealogy, so we can trace our families back from when they came over from the UK, pretty much. We got some Scottish, some Irish, some English in there, and be able to trace that and learn about, even if you don't know about your specific person, what those people, what pushed them to move somewhere else, what drove them out of their homeland, or if there was nothing, maybe it was just personal choice.
I thought about that over this weekend as well because your grandparents' last name or the family.
You talking about Burton or
How?
Howell?
How?
Yeah, that was on my
Because,
grandfather's side.
but my family members that came over, one of the manservant from the Mayflower, his last name was Hal.
Yeah, we didn't come over that early though.
Okay.
We are not related.
Okay.
As much
Just
as we
making
look
sure.
alike, we are not related. I think that far back, it would be
I
okay
think it
if
would be
we
okay.
procreated.
Yeah.
That's okay. Huxley's feet aren't webbed.
Just have one
eyebrow.
One eye.
But learn about that kind of stuff. Learn what they went through, and it may be insignificant, it may be huge, but take the time. Is the one thing that I am certainly grateful for, that I have the ability to and the desire to make the time with my grandparents to find out who they were.
Yep.
They're not just my mom's parents,
Nope.
they're people. They had experiences. They've done things, they've been through things, and they in turn talk about their parents, and who I never knew my grandfather's parents. They passed before I have memory of them. And but to have the knowledge of, they had farm animals, they ate off the land, they did what they could to help make sure that my grandfather had what he needed.
Right.
And those types of choices, and regardless of the age gap, we are now making those same types of choices to make sure that our son has everything that we could possibly give him to need, that he needs to be able to succeed. We're trying to live off of our land, and things like that. And it's just, I had a lot of kind of self-reflection this weekend about how cyclical things can be, and
history repeats itself.
Even just in a small way on how you do your family.
If we go through another depression, guess when the last depression was? When your grandparents were kids.
Just like Huxley would be a kid now.
Exactly. And so they remember things from that time frame that maybe just might help us out during the next depression recession.
Yeah. But then I did some research kind of in just to how to, like with interviews and stuff of the, I guess, the older generations. And, Pat and I are both in our 30s. I'm 32, he's 37. So, I don't know how old everybody was here, is that watches us.
That guy, that Doc Ferris guy's got to be at least 70 or 80.
Yeah, he's ancient.
Very
creaking bag of bones.
Nice truck, by the way.
Yeah.
Looks copycat. Copycat.
Like father, like son.
No, like.
Oh, mine.
Like Megan.
Oh.
It's the same. Looks like the same 1500 you got, except it's black.
I do kind of like the black though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe trade. I don't know if I want to trade.
You love your truck.
I love my truck. But one of the things I found was there's a book, and it's called 30 Lessons for Living, Tried and True Advice from the Wisest Americans. And in this book, there was a professor that interviewed thousands of people over the age of 65 to kind of, talk to them about their life choices and, what motivated them to do things. And it kind of struck some some heartstrings with me, I guess, because the three biggest things that they were found was that um, not a single person said it was more important to be at least as wealthy as the people around you, and if you have more than they do, it's real success. And that one really kind of struck with me because it all depends on what you define as wealthy and what you define as success. You know, Pat and I, we do strive to have nice things, but in that, they are to help us accomplish what we want.
Goals.
Like, I
They're
have a
goal
very nice
oriented.
truck sitting in the driveway that I love, and it is the nicest vehicle I've ever had. However, we bought it with not only making me happy, because that was kind of in my book, but
Yeah.
we bought it so that we could do more around the farm, around our property, to be able to advance our lives here at home in order to get what we want out of our land and to be able to do the things we want to do out of our land.
It expands our reach as well. We didn't know what we were going to do if we had to leave this place and never come back.
Yeah.
Now, if we have to evacuate, we could take something with us and still even be even better for it. Like we could take the fifth wheel and know that we're going to have a roof overhead wherever we go.
Yeah. And, stuff like that. It's, and yeah, we may not have the biggest house, even in our neighborhood, which is not, well, it's not really like a neighborhood, but we have a tiny house. But
1,200 feet, guys. We don't live in a big house.
Yeah, our other house in Laurinburg was bigger than this
Much
one.
bigger.
Or we may not have as much land as our neighbor, but we have what makes us happy and what is manageable for us. And that's okay. Another thing is that out of the people that were interviewed, it said no one, not a single person out of 1,000 said that to be happy, you should try to work as hard as you can to make money to buy the things you want. And this one, yeah, it wasn't. And this one is difficult for me, personally, because I do bust my ass at work, and it can be frustrating sometimes to not necessarily feel like I'm getting the fruits of my labors, and I mean, I know where it is, like I knew I worked for the county. It's not like my paycheck was a secret, but sometimes it can be frustrating, and it's taken some time for me to kind of reevaluate what actually is important. Like, it used to be all about the job. It has to be about the job I have to do. And I'm not saying now I do a shit job at work, but I've realized that the importance and my focus doesn't necessarily have to be on work 120%. I need to give more here at the house, even if it's just helping more inside, which allows Pat to do more outside because I'm inside with the kid, making sure the laundry's done or cooking dinner or taking care of the house animals. If he's not having to do those and watch Huxley and do those other tasks, it does give him more time outside. If I'm home first, then I'll take care of the animals outside so that when he gets home, it's done and he doesn't have to worry about it. And putting more of that focus, taking some of that off work and putting it more into the house, because I've come to realize that the stuff we do around here is more satisfying than what my job is, like in a soulful way. And I needed that balance in my life. And so that one really kind of struck with me. And it's, it's coming from people that have lived it. They've had the same struggles. Like, regardless of, I feel like, of the time period, everybody always wants more. Everybody always wants what their neighbor has. Jealousy is real, stuff like that. But it's finding that contentment with your home choices.
Right.
And just going to work in order to further, what you can do at home.
I want to pause you just for a quick second.
Oh, that's fine.
And talk to you of Little and Light. Welcome to the Homestead channel.
Hi.
Breakaway Homestead channel. We are two first-time visitor. Hope you subscribe to our channel. We do a live show Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
He's not even drinking a beer tonight, y'all. He's just drinking water.
And what we tend to talk about are common things that people should look more into to become more self-aware, self-independent.
Yeah.
Upon their own deeds, growing their own food, doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Just to kind of, we have a very, I mean, we have a small kind of budding homestead. We are just trying to find our way. We have autistic 5-year-old son, almost
Mhm.
5-year-old son, and trying to make the best life for him
Yep.
with what we have available to us.
We've
So
raised
we are not
we
experts in
no.
anything, but we like to talk about everything.
Yeah,
So,
we're learning through action. Uh, we've raised chickens, ducks, quail, rabbits, and then now turkeys.
yep.
And we're going to continue to expand. I'm sure.
Next year, I've already been promised pigs.
Promised.
Bacon seeds. You told me we could get them next year. Yes, you did.
When did I say that?
Like 2 months ago when we were out by the turkey pen. Don't try to push it off. Just sit there and drink your water. We're getting bacon seeds next year, y'all, and I'm super excited, as you can tell. So anyway, but yeah, so and a lot of it, like, and even with talking to my grandparents and stuff, is they evaluated their choices and they took risks, which I feel like we don't take risks anymore.
There was always the next best thing, and we get comfy, we get cozy, we stay because we're afraid of change.
Yeah.
When they didn't have a choice, they changed
Well, I
or
mean,
they
they
perished.
they did, and like when my grandfather was in college, he realized that what was set out for him by his parents was not his thing. So he made a choice. He it was a risk, and he made the change and built a life from that, and stepped outside his comfort zone, and they flourished.
Okay.
I mean, they really did, and they have done stuff that I could never like. They were Olympic sailing judges. Like in 1996, when the Olympics were in Atlanta, the sailing was held out in Savannah, and they judged the Olympics. Like, how
Cool is that?
effing cool is that? Like, that is something I could never imagine to do because
Right.
I'm not an expert in any sense. But they've traveled the country teaching. They got out, like doing certifications for sailing judges and stuff. And, they took a risk, they took that chance, and they don't regret it because, however scary or difficult it might have been, the experiences that they gained out of it were phenomenal and far overwhelming.
I think it's one of the biggest things about your grandparents that I love the most about them is they regret nothing.
Yeah.
At all.
I mean, I'm sure they have little regrets here and there, but everybody does. But
overall,
I don't think they do.
No, I don't think so.
And I think that's amazing because even at 32, there are things that I regret already. And I don't want to continue that path. Yeah. And so it's, even saying something, like always being honest. It's not always the best thing to hear. He got his ass chewed out earlier.
I did.
By the truth. And it hurt. And I got told I was right, which was awesome. And, stuff like that. Saying yes to opportunities. A big one for us was moving up here. Like Pat said, we were very comfortable where we were. We knew we needed to move because of work commutes and stuff like that.
Education.
And education for Huxley and things like that. But it was a big risk. It was a big step for us.
Forced risk too.
Yeah.
Being pushed out of the Navy and being dumped onto the street.
Yeah, pretty much. We had to make some choices, and some of them were probably not the best.
Nova.
Anyway, and and so, but we had to, but even when we were doing that, we talked with my grandparents. Yeah. We talked with both of our parents' sets
they
individually,
all gave us advice, told us what we could do, but they were all at the same time. Only you can decide.
Yeah, and stuff like that, and it's just you can learn so much from that older generation, or even if you're in kind of like our parents' generation. Our parents are in their 60s now, all 4 of them, and so. My mom is lucky that her parents are still alive. Both of my dad's parents have passed. And you're all 4 of your they've all passed. So it's a little bit harder, for our parents' generation, but there are still people out there that are older, and to learn from
my
that.
grandparents either. My parents can still talk about the things their parents talked about.
Yeah.
And they still remember
And I still
their
feel like your
grandparents.
dad, like the stuff he learned as a child from his parents, very much in a way has molded who he is as an adult man
He
now.
is.
And,
He's a survivalist by heart.
yeah, because he had to be. He was one of 13 kids, and so they had to can, they had to try to supplement their own food because there wasn't enough to go around.
And he didn't know any better. He didn't know any difference. So as he went into his
Life,
and his family,
that's how
we did the same thing because he, just like your great grandfather, who didn't know what it was going to be like because he got robbed at gunpoint. My father never knew what was going to happen next.
And so he raised, Pat and his sister and his brother and his other sister
chickens,
in that
garden,
same vein. They had chickens, they had garden,
rabbits.
They saved stuff from the trash. No, that was just Stephanie's rabbit. They
burn.
She
never watches this.
Yeah, well, she knows.
If she does, call me.
She knows.
She won't call.
She won't call.
No.
But he had to, and even to this day, they live in New York, so they don't winter over livestock, but they'll get a couple cows in the spring and raise them up through the summer and then slaughter them in the fall, and that's their meat.
Not only do they feed themselves, but they feed my brothers and sisters as well.
Yeah,
all the families get
meat.
Get meat from that.
And we do too when they bring some stuff down to, not to the same extent, but we do get steaks and stuff from them.
And we get meat.
Venison, he still goes
deer.
and hunts.
Yeah.
They have chickens, they garden, and they have a downstairs basement that is basically just a big ass pantry.
Stacked.
And it is just stacked and stacked and stacked full of stuff.
Yeah.
Homemade tomato sauce, canned meat, peaches, vegetables, peaches, just everything. And it all stems back from how his parents raised him.
Yeah.
And some of it was a forced necessity. And then it just became, that's how he lived. And that's because that's what he knew. And so it's just, I feel like people forget that sometimes, that there are generations that, okay, yeah, maybe their lives were different in the sense that not everything was instant, or there was no
instant gratification.
Yeah, I almost said there was no electricity. They all had electricity.
Yes.
But they didn't have things that we might have now.
TV that was this big.
Yeah,
black and white,
or sitting around listening to the radio because there was no TV. Or they couldn't afford a TV, stuff like that. But they're still people. There were still the cyclical kind of issues that we're dealing with now that they've already been through. And, regardless of what the culture might look like, they're still the same things at the root of it. It's still the same. And so just being with them this weekend and, listening to more of their stories, it's just... I don't know. It gave me a lot of time to think. It didn't help that on the way back he slept off and on, and I just drove and thought about things. The drive back from Savannah, you kept passing out.
Yeah, I kept getting touch and goes. I couldn't keep my eyes awake.
So my cousin had chicken pox when I was little. I thought my aunt had let the chickens in the house to bite my cousin.
There you go.
I had chicken pox really bad as a kid. My brother got it, and then I got it, and I had them in my mouth and on the back of my throat, and it was the most miserable I think I've ever been in my life.
Ever. I had chicken pox too.
Yeah.
I lived in Austin, Texas at the time.
We didn't have a chicken pox party though.
No, my sister got it, and then I got
it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it for my talking points. It's just find someone of an older generation, even if it's just a couple years older that maybe grew up in a different area or has different experiences, and talk to them about how they do things. Like one of the things my grandmother gave us was all of these books. It's the better, or do you have one of them?
I'm gonna get one.
So she gave us her entire collection, and it's the Better Homes and Gardens, and it's a cookbook series. And some of them were from as far back as like 1963. Most of them were from the early 70s. So some of the recipes are just absolutely fantastic. But it takes you step by step. Like there's one just on baking bread. and how to do it. And like we're still searching for our bread recipe for the house, something that we can have every week and enjoy and use and make again the next week and still enjoy it, a couple months later. We haven't really found that yet in the breads that we've tried at this point. So she was like, hey, check this out. And some of them, like the ingredients are still the same, but let's give it a try, and stuff like that. And Pat has gone somewhere to get one of them. But, it's even just stuff like that. She's cooked a lot of these recipes. She can give us advice on what to use or what not to use. And, so it's just very interesting. And, we like older stuff like that and don't have a problem with it. Some of the recipes are absolutely ridiculous. Like this one, the frosted ribbon loaf. This loaf is all dressed up for the holidays. May, go on, honey. There you go. It's all dressed up for the holidays with a luscious parsley flecked cream cheese frosting and tomato rose trim. The pretty layers of egg and ham filling are truly delicious. And there's a picture of the bad boy. So Pat has decided for their holiday Christmas potluck, he is going to make that and
I'm
take
making that right there.
So we'll probably do a video on that.
Absolutely.
But it even talks about, like, I did not know that ham salad was a thing. Like egg salad or deviled ham salad.
Yeah.
I did not know that was a thing. Like the egg salads, pasta salads, stuff like potato salads. I didn't know, and she was like, hell yeah, we grew up on that, like stuff like that. And it's something that's so simple to make. And
so you guys know I've been struggling with making bread.
Well, I was talking about that. But yeah, that one is actually in the bread cookbook because you use the bread that you bake in the beginning.
To give you that example, I don't know if you told them what I'm about to say, but I was talking with her grandmother about making bread. I'm like, I don't get it. We've tried so many recipes, and they're fine when they come right out of the oven. And they just turn into rocks and doorstops and everything like that.
Building bricks.
She goes, Patrick, you need to realize that bread these days have all these additives, preservatives in it to keep them fresh for weeks at a time.
She was like, when we were growing up,
bread was a daily thing that was made daily.
Yeah, you'd have your rolls with dinner or something that was made that day, maybe have some leftovers for the next day. But bread was made to be consumed within the first couple of days. Beyond that,
and if it wasn't consumed within the first couple of days, they'd cut it up. They'd make other stuff out of it.
Yeah, you got like stuffing or bread pudding type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you need the stale, breadcrumbs for a meatloaf or
for breakfast.
Yeah, and she was like, so within 3 or 4 days, that entire loaf was gone.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was made for. And then you made another one, and we're like, well, no shit.
Idiots.
And that's not something that we had
thought about. We thought, it's the name brand loaf bread that's been sitting on our counter for 2 weeks.
And still tastes as fresh as the day we bought it, which in reality is not necessarily all that fresh, but...
I wonder why my liver hurts.
Yeah, and... so it's even little tidbits like that. Like, we looked at each other like we're idiots, but we're like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. When you're making something fresh like that, it doesn't,
It's not meant to sit like
for
that.
Weeks.
Because, one, families back in the day were big, and they only cooked what they needed to eat for the time frame that they were eating. And, yeah. Back in the day when, you had... people come over and visit. It was a big thing. You cooked a big meal because of it. Or you saved a meal and froze it. And then when they came, you had everything all set out and ready on the table. That's kind of what I want to revert back to. And your yeast will start inside that, by the way.
We don't have friends, though, that come to visit.
We're going to make that change. We do. Well, I'm gonna say this. We're going to go visit some people this weekend. It's their turn to come and visit us.
That's very true.
And we have the space.
I would say we have a very nice fifth wheel.
Very nice fifth wheel.
I can't talk, y'all. I'm on a lot of drugs for a reaction to mold. So
she inhaled some toxic black mold, which causes her to have.
I get a really wicked rash when I'm exposed to it, and so I'm on uppers and downers. I'm on steroids and prescription strength antihistamines at the moment. So I'm like racing 1 second and like falling over on my face the next. So it's delightful.
With that, we're going to pull the plug a little bit
Is
early
it?
tonight.
Okay, are we? I can't.
9:44.
We ended early last week, though. You don't have.
What do you mean I don't have anything?
I said, do you have anything else
I
to
do
say?
have something to continue on with what you were talking about. I think with the people that you're going to talk to, the older generations, you're going to get a better feel of what gratitude is. You're going to get a better feel of what wealth really is.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of my coworkers today, and he looked at me and he's Patrick. He's like, "What are you doing for retirement?" He's like, "You're matching what your company's putting in." I'm like, "Yeah, I do match it. It'd be stupid not to." But beyond that,
sorry, I gotta. No, because Sybil said something about putting something else to keep your homemade bread soft and fresh. Brush butter on it and put it in bread wrappers. We did not brush butter on it, but we did put it in bread wrappers, and it still just did not.
No,
it did not. It did not. And we are in North Carolina.
We live in Vass, North Carolina, which is central North Carolina. It's just west of Fayetteville. So
no, we just went to
right in the middle.
Go to Savannah to see my grandparents.
So we live in the Sand Hills, which is made of sand and hills.
And pine trees.
Pine trees. So we do all of our gardening via a greenhouse. And that we just put up last year. And through above ground raised beds. And we did pretty well this year.
You got me freaking out looking at the window now.
What?
Dragon's telling. Said, Patrick, don't look behind you. I just saw Bigfoot in your window staring at you. That, I don't...
Which is creepy.
That's a window right there.
That window right here.
There we go.
It's like literally 8 feet above the ground. So if there's somebody out there staring in the window, they are damn tall.
And they're about to get shot.
And we are close. We are very close to Sasquatch country.
Yes, we are. The Uwharrie Forest is, if you ever watch a documentary on
majority
Sasquatch,
of them come from the Uwharrie.
It's around the Uwharrie, and that's only about an hour and 20 minutes or so from here. Country. Oh, it's gorgeous out there. But yeah, so it would not surprise me. Maybe that's why the dogs have been going crazy. Maybe we got a Bigfoot. The dogs
have been acting creepy tonight, and it's kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Well, that's also because we had a very interesting woman knock on our door at 9:30 last night. They would not leave. Holy crap.
Imagine the Kool-Aid man knocking at your door at 9 o'clock at night.
But wearing a dress and holding a chihuahua.
What color was her hair?
Pinkish?
I don't know. All I know is
she wouldn't leave.
The security door never got opened. We have a security door at the front that is made of steel.
It's like a screen door, but it's made of steel.
It's made of steel. Thank you, Big Bear Homestead, because we took their idea and did the same thing. And it's made of steel.
It did not get unlocked the whole time.
She was standing at the door for about 10 minutes. And I was very uncomfortable. Obviously,
she wouldn't leave. So I work animal control, and every once in a while I do have to bring a vehicle home, like a work vehicle. So some of the people kind of know. And there was a dog that she had found, and she was coming up to see if it was ours, and then started asking me questions about like what to do, the process and everything. So I was explaining that to her, and then we got to the end of the conversation. I was like, all right, bye. And she literally just stood there.
Look at y'all got a nice house.
This is real nice. And I'm like, and then
this place was here
and then she was like, oh, you're a notary? And I'm like, no, he is. And then
notary. That means y'all can do power of attorney
and wills, but then so I thought maybe she was on something, but she was the same way today when she came by to drop the dog off.
Showed up in the same clothing.
Yeah,
in the same dress that was held up barely
by her boobies.
Very, very daintily.
Yeah, it was so. I don't know. Since that, the dogs were freaked out last night about that,
I've been freaked out. We shut our gate today.
Which we never do
because
it's a pain in the ass.
Normally.
So.
Yeah, but we shut the gate today, and I'm gonna do it again tomorrow because I'm still creeped out.
Yeah, it was just very awkward. But yeah, but maybe we do have a Bigfoot out roaming.
It's possible.
Because the dogs have been going crazy.
Yeah, it's been creepy.
So I don't know.
So I was asked today.
Yes, go ahead.
Just to finish the story, I was asked today by a coworker, "What are you doing for retirement?" And his definition of retirement is what are you doing to make sure you have a lot of money per to pay for the stuff when you retire. Well, I'm just the exact opposite. By the time I retire, I would already paid for all the stuff I need to live comfortably until I die.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the BCS walk behind tractor that has all the implements that does everything on my 3 acre farm that we're going to have one day over the house that's paid for and built by my own hands and so on and so forth. And yeah, I would already have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So my definition is like, yeah, we will have some income, but we won't have a huge income. And the reason being is because we would have invested everything into our future.
Yeah.
That sustains us.
And that's kind of like, to bring it around, that's kind of what my grandparents have done.
Yep.
You know, they don't get a whole lot in Social Security, but they get enough monthly that they can do what they need to do. But their house is paid for.
Yep.
Their trips are paid for. They did have some money in the bank, but
they also save.
Their car is paid for. Their everything was paid for.
They save.
So they could look at a point in time where they could be like, and we're done, because they didn't need to continue. Where so many people today, there was something I saw on Facebook. It was a meme on Facebook, and it was, somebody asked me about retirement, and I just laughed in their face because I'm going to be at work up until noon the day of my funeral. Right. And like, it's funny, but it's not, and so it's just, it's, say hi, Elbaroo. You are getting to be a fat little potato. Look at that. You're a fat potato.
A fat, hairy potato. Pleasure my potato. My potato.
Pat's princess. This is my manly man of a farming husband over here.
My little potato. My little potato. Yes.
This is my life, y'all.
It's a good life, though.
It's getting there.
So, yeah. We spoke about that. And, like, investing in land. Investing in things that hold value. Not necessarily a dollar value, because you don't know what it's going to be like 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Yeah.
So
my biggest thing is I want to get more into the canning and the preparation and making sure we have stuff here at the house.
We canned carrots.
We did.
I canned carrots.
I ate them.
Yeah, and I canned sweet carrots.
Yeah.
Which was a simple recipe.
And it wasn't even something that we grew. He stopped by the Piggly Wiggly, and all their baby carrots were like severely on sale. Yeah. So he bought like 10 pounds of carrots. Them. Because it was cheap, like dirt cheap. Yeah. And
the old pressure canner out that just has the weight and tells you 5, 10, or 15. And we
canned them up.
And
that was it.
Jiggler weight canning.
Yeah.
And
so I want to get more into that, because for me it is way out of my comfort zone. I did not grow up like that. We did not preserve and kind of keep our own food like that. And so it's something that like I want to be more comfortable with. So when Huxley gets to an age, even if he doesn't get into it, he'll know how to do it and be comfortable with it. One of my biggest holdups is that I get terrified to eat what we can. Because growing up, I always heard the stories about people getting sick from what they canned and botulism, and you're gonna die and all this other shit.
I'm still here.
But like I know like it's funny, but that's how I grew up. Those were the stories I heard. So it's very difficult. Like, and one of the biggest things is canned meat for me. I did not grow up eating, like I'm not a big soup person, which somebody threw out at me like, well, you eat soup, don't you? It's got canned meat in it. Like, I don't eat soup like that. If I do, it's like tomato or, a broccoli cheddar type situation. So it's very hard for me. We didn't eat Spam. We didn't eat any of like the commercially packed meat. And so just recently I have started eating canned chicken.
She loves it.
And hot damn.
Easy peasy.
And I'm like, okay, let me get more comfortable with this, and then we'll move on to something else because it's
Chicken quesadilla is instant.
yeah, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But like, so I am trying to become more comfortable in stuff that is like way out of my comfort zone. And then as, talking to my grandparents and they're like, "Oh yeah, we used to do this and we used to do that." I'm like, "I have never done that before in my life." And so it's, Pat grew up different than I did. And so things he's totally comfortable with, I'm like, there ain't no way in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just trying to find that balance and
learning the traditions just in case.
yeah, pretty much.
And passing it on just in case.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think I'm done.
I'm done.
Okay.
I talked most of that.
You did. It was your show tonight because I didn't prepare anything.
Yep.
I had no choice. I did have a choice. I thought we were going to do a show today because we're getting ready for this weekend and had been running around with our heads cut off, getting up early
Ain't no
in the morning.
excuse.
But
go big or go home.
Go big or go
home. We got
home.
a battle to the death.
We got a homestead to the death.
Homestead to the death.
All right, folks. I'm Patrick.
You have a question. Have you planted any fruit trees on your property? Which ones grow well in your sandy soil? Not here. We did not. At our house in Laurinburg, which is sand on top of clay. So
yes.
We did plant some. We
planted peach trees, plum trees,
fig,
apricots, figs, and everything like that. And then we had this huge, beautiful mulberry tree.
Yeah.
And put off hundreds of pounds of
like his parents would come down and take as much as they could back to New York and still not put a dent in the tree.
We moved here, and here it's mostly wooded.
Yeah.
We want to put fruit trees up, but we got to clear the space first.
Yeah, we did put some apple trees out
of tinies.
They did not do well.
Yeah.
They died. That's what I mean when I say they didn't do well. They died.
We're going to get fruit trees, but we're going to invest in fruit trees that are already there.
Yeah, and that's something that one of the things our fruit trees down in Laurinburg, we got
as twigs, tiny little
twigs with like a single root on them.
Yeah.
And so they're just now kind of getting to the point where they're producing anything.
Like that.
So we've decided that even though it'll be a little bit more cost in the beginning, that we want to get already established trees.
Already fruiting trees. We call it instant orchards.
So we talked about it in one of our earlier shows. I think it was like how to organize your homestead.
Right.
We did talk about them, but
everybody and anybody you'll hear on homesteading, the first thing they say, or they wish they did on their homestead, was plant fruit trees.
Yeah.
Plant fruit trees.
And I do wish we had that because I would love to be able pick my own fruit.
We'll be clearing some land this winter.
This winter, yeah, it's a lot easier for us in the winter because everything kind of dies back.
Yeah, all the vines die back, and we'll be able to get through it. But we'll be clearing land this winter and being more sparse with the tiny trees that cover up the canopy.
Not being sparse, being more aggressive.
Aggressive, whatever. And then we'll get to doing, because we eat a lot of fruit. Yeah. The kid eats a lot of fruit.
He does. So to be able to can our own would be phenomenal.
It would be.
And just to have it, for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And continue to grow it and, add to it, not like grow it, but grow it. Grow it out. So, yes.
And the two places we're looking at is Willis Orchard and FastGrowingTrees.com. And there's also some local nurseries as well that do a lot of blueberries and stuff like that. Stuff that are acidic soils like pine tree needles and stuff like that grow well with. So.
But yeah, we do have. What is the one at the end of the driveway? It does the little
persimmon.
A persimmon tree.
We have native persimmon trees, and they're about the size of golf balls. But you have to wait until they are pretty much mush before you can eat them, because any other time they're very, very bitter. But the deer love them, man. If you have any persimmon trees and you have a place where you feed your deer love persimmons. Love them. You can get more for persimmons than you can for acorns when you sell them in deer season. Anywho, we do the show every Tuesday night. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Before that, you might see us on Saturday night. It gives you a little clue on what live show you might see us on. And
Maybe I'll be on this one this time.
Maybe you'll be on this one this time. Maybe we can knock out our child because they start at 8.
We can put him to bed a little earlier.
Yep.
Might be a thing.
Might be a thing.
Might be a thing.
So I'm just saying, maybe 8 o'clock this Saturday sometime. Be around a particular channel called the Big Bear Homestead.
Yep.
With Robin and Jason.
Maybe we can get Jason to put his kilt back on.
Maybe we could. Maybe I'll take my kilt.
Do you still fit in it?
I don't. No. One of them at least, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Maybe.
If not, you need to lose some weight before the HOA.
Yeah, HOA. That's another thing I want to talk about. Homesteaders of America Conference. It's the second week of October.
Yes.
It takes place in Front Royal, Virginia. That's just west of Washington, D.C. People like
Big Bear Homestead.
Big Bear Homestead. We're going to be there. Who else is going to be there? Doug and Off Grid with Doug and Stacy's going to be there.
The rabbit guy.
The rabbit guy, Chambers, Jeremy Chambers. He teaches folks how to take a rabbit from, breed, and raise meat rabbits, and he will take you step by step through
the butchering and everything.
And it's a live demonstration. He butchers a rabbit in front of people, everything like that.
I'm kind of interested in that one,
but his classes are already sold out.
Are they really?
Yep.
I just want to be able to talk to him.
But he will still do a demonstration for anybody else who wasn't able to attend that course. They hold courses in the beginning. One is beekeeping, one is canning, the other one is making sourdough bread. Another one is trapping with Big Bear Homestead. I took his
Two
course.
Family said they're going to be there too.
Two Family, awesome. We'll be there.
Yay!
Yay!
We have rabbits of Little and Light, and we have not actually butchered any yet. We sold the first.
Done it.
He's done it, but I never have. We sold our first round to another homesteader.
We currently own 21.
Yeah,
rabbits.
the next, this is their second breeding cycle. We have the babies from already, and they're about to once we get back, it'll be time to either process them or sell them again.
They're already weaned. They're eating a lot of freaking food. And then
we
our
just don't
third
have
mama,
time
who
this
did not
week.
get pregnant the last cycle, so we have 3 females that we breed, is pregnant and will be dropping kids the first week of September.
Yeah.
So, and they average between 8 and 13 rabbits apiece when they have litters. But the HOA, it's the Homesteaders of America Conference. Who else is going to be there? Who's the chicken guy? The guy with the glasses.
Oh, from up north?
From Virginia.
Is he from Virginia? Well, technically we're in North Carolina. That's up north.
Yeah.
Not very far, but it's up there.
Cody.
He's on the food.
Yeah, Food Inc.
Food Inc.
Joe Salatin.
Yeah.
Joe Salatin will be one of the key speakers there. Who else is going to be there? The Rhodes family will be there. The Pratts. The Pratts will be there. They have several kids, and they'll have a homesteading with kids section. JJL Forge will be there. He'll be out there doing an actual event. Is he going to
do a demonstration and stuff?
He's doing demonstrations.
That's awesome.
Classes.
We have bought some stuff from him as Christmas presents
blacksmithing.
Before.
And,
it's just, Pat went last year, and I was kind of jelly because I didn't get to go.
Doc Ferris, he's in the room. He was there. He went with me.
And it's basically just a bunch of people, like-minded people who are trying to gain the same sort of lifestyle for their families.
Claire from Rent to Grown was there. I met her as well.
Get together.
Two Family Homestead was there. Sorry.
Get together.
And
I'm done.
So, get together.
They get together and share knowledge, from the more experienced to the just starting out. And I'm very excited to go this year. And we're going to camp, and hopefully it'll be a good time.
And for the folks that are camping, because we are taking this will be our first official camping trip with the Fifth Wheel to a camping site. We are staying at the KOA in
Front Royal, isn't it?
No, it's not Front Royal.
It's like next to Front Royal. It's closest
Anyway,
to it.
email me.
She said Claire's a close friend of hers, of Little and Light.
Oh, Claire? Yeah. I've known Claire since she started her channel. And we've done challenges with each other before. And yeah, we get along quite well. And they just moved to Tennessee, and they are working. They'll be closer than they were before. Maybe they'll be able to get out to visit. But yeah, just look it up online, folks, and check it out. If it's something up your alley and it's close enough, take a couple hour drive to come out and visit us and visit everybody else. We'll introduce you if you don't know anybody. If you are a viewer that wants to get into YouTube and start doing your own thing like this, or making videos, which we don't do, which we should start doing more of, which we did before. She bought me a camera, and I haven't really used it. If you want advice from people who do YouTube all the time,
It's a good place to go.
it's a great platform, especially for the homesteaders.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. And that's what we do.
Try to.
So, Tuesday nights, our live show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right her.
Right her.
Right her.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Megan.
We're the Breakaway Homesteaders.
And we done.
We're done.
Bye.
See ya.